So I think it's safe to say that CD Projekt RED have become absolute experts on knowing how to frustrate their own audience. We're going to be talking about this one right here. That lead quest designer explains that his words about the DLC have been taken out of context. From now on, he limits the number of answers on DLC topics. His big announcement was the new graphics on his channel and the gameplay from The Witcher 2. I kid you not. So we're going to dive into this right now and some other Cyberpunk topics. Let's do this. Hey everyone, what's happening? Open World Games here. Hope you're doing good. And we are talking about Cyberpunk 2077. And we're going to be talking about this recent, I guess you would call it an apology. So yeah, we're going to dive into this first of all right here. You guys may remember this, how Paul Sasko, this lead quest designer on Cyberpunk 2077, was on stream explaining that this character here was played by an actual developer from CD Projekt RED. So we know that first of all. So he said, let's interrogate this developer. He told the character to blink once if DLC was going to be revealed in the next month. The character blinked and Paolo Sasko gasped on stream. So a lot of people got excited about this. Apparently it was a joke. Now later on in the same stream, he said something very surprising was in store for everyone for his next stream. Now remember, this guy is wearing a Cyberpunk t-shirt in a Cyberpunk chair as a Cyberpunk developer, dropping hints everywhere on his stream. He has even spoke in an official capacity about the progress of the DLCs on his stream, which by the way, I actually did appreciate that he did mention that, yeah, DLC is being worked on and still progressing nicely. After all this, a lot of the community assumed that the surprising announcement that he was speaking about was going to be about, guess what? Cyberpunk DLC. That made sense given the theme of his streams and some of the other things he has talked about on his streams. However, it turned out that his big surprise was about him streaming The Witcher 2. So we're going to talk about the community's reaction. My whole thing is CD Projekt RED really needs to tighten up their communication big time. If they're going to prove themselves at all in this industry, their communication first and foremost with their community has to be dead on. Nothing can be taken out of context. You know, it's very easy for people, the community, to take stuff out of context, especially if they're coming to the stream when it is outside of the stream schedule. The stream has been posted as an archive. It is extremely easy for people to take things out of context because they're not in the stream, they're not in the know, they're not in the flow of the chat, for example. So yeah, that's very important to remember. As a streamer, things can be taken out of context. Now, let's get into the reactions from the community on this one. Let's see what you guys had to say. We have Tornado, who says, a developer for Cyberpunk overhyped something, and this guy had all the time in the world to correct his comments and specify he was updating his channel graphics or some crap. He purposely said something that could be interpreted many different ways in order to get his view count on his stream increased. At this point, I am not sure if it wasn't a stunt that also involved CD Projekt RED. I'm pretty sure they fed off the emotions they get trolling the community. I'm just wondering, like, what is going on? It says, I have up a while ago expecting anything fixed. I have given up a while ago expecting anything fixed. If it happens, yay. But I'm not waiting on anything from CD Projekt RED, and no one else should expect anything from them. What really gets me is he did have quite a bit of time to come out on social media or somewhere and correct his wordage of what he said on stream. He could have easily tweeted out, guys, this was blown out of proportion. Instead, he waited a whopping like 7 days to even correct what he stated. And it's interesting how he said the community took it out of context. Once again, in my opinion, this is a way of blaming the community. In my opinion, as a developer, when you have such a fragile audience that has been very hurt by the launch of the game, you got to be extremely careful with what you are saying no matter what. That's just my assessment of it. In fact, if you look at what Outriders did with their management of communicating with the community, they were very cautious. In fact, they had one person constantly communicating with their community. Of course, Outriders had a very rough launch, but in my opinion, their communication was there for the most part. Now, let's keep diving into this right now. Now, we have this from Drunk Dad DK, who says, "This is private," says the lead quest designer while wearing a Cyberpunk 2077 t-shirt. And Sid Punk says, "On a public stream, which anyone can join." So he did say that his streams are considered private and internal for his own use, and it's basically considered a private stream outside of CD Projekt RED. Yet at the same time, he has commented on DLC and has given us actual updates about the progress of the DLC. So you can kind of see the contradiction right there. Now we have Base Rome, who says this: "I enjoy following his inside information about how the game was built and how he helped as a lead quest designer. He mentions that it's a private stream, but I also can't help, but feel that this is another way for CD Projekt RED to repair their image." That's what I was thinking. It says, "It might be just because I still feel betrayed since the release and that the game was being developed by a studio that I really admired for their approach and connection with the community. Powell always has interesting insights, and I know the team is hard at work, and I really hope that Cyberpunk gets to be what the dev has in mind." So yeah, there are people out there that of course really appreciate being able to sit down in a stream with Powell Sasko. So now we know that his streams are private. We're not going to take any information from him seriously from here on out. That's just what I'm going to say about that. However, we need some sort of community manager that we can rely on that can give us insight as to what's going on with Cyberpunk 2077. It just seems like CD Projekt RED is not interested in communicating with their own community, the people that actually laid down $60 or what have you for their game. So yeah, they've been very quiet. My assessment is, of course, they're going to be very much focused on the next gen update for this game and then the free DLC. But I think they are hyper focused on nailing down the new gen version of the game, which of course is going to be releasing sometime in fall 2021, and then and only then we will go from there and see what happens. But yeah, let's keep going here. Now, of course, Paulo Sasko has previously talked about stuff in the past. As you can see, Paulo Sasko, lead quest designer for Cyberpunk, confirms the DLCs and new patches are being worked on, as well as provides insights as to why wall running and climbing was removed. And he has a bunch of stuff there. Now, let's talk about the recent leaks for Cyberpunk 2077. There has been a leaker named Prickly Assassin who has been actually called out recently in an interesting Reddit post right here. It says, "Exposing the fake Epic Games Store data mines." Oh my god, the controversy. So this is a very long-winded post, by the way, which goes into talking about how perhaps there's a lot of questioning to be had related to Prickly Assassin's supposed data mines about Cyberpunk 2077. Now, he says that he apparently has a, I guess, very high-end Epic Games Store account accessible only by developers where you can get certain insights. So the gist of it is that a lot of people are noticing that there's contradictory issues with what Prickly Assassin has been saying. So again, when I report on leaks and stuff like that, this is why you take stuff with a grain of salt, of course. And some of his posts recently have been actually removed by him, as you could see right here. So a lot of questioning going on around Prickly Assassin's supposed, I guess you would call, leaks and things like that. Now, also mentioning DLC, it seems like you guys have a lot of opinions about that one for sure. In fact, we have a post here. It goes on to say this: "I don't want DLC. I want them to optimize the game." It says, "I played this game on PS4, PS5, and PC. On any platform, the combat and movement of the character just feels floating weird. I constantly get stuck on things on the floor. Visual look blurry. Still tons of NPCs and cars are glitching out, and in my opinion, completely missing. Buildings don't load properly when driving. Like, yeah, they fixed the game breaking quest stuff, but the last small update was 1.5 months ago, and the game still feels pretty bad to play. I check for updates every day, and every day I'm disappointed." Now, a lot of you guys may disagree with this because, you're on PC and you have access to mods, but it seems like a lot of you are talking about how you actually want them to fine-tune the vanilla game, the base game, instead of go straight into DLC. So, I'm hoping that does happen. Another thing that you guys want to see is the driving mechanics updated even more. Absolutely the worst thing in the game for me so far. Like, I hate driving. I prefer running to the destination, excuse me. And this was posted only 9 hours ago, has a whopping 3,844 upvotes, and it says absolutely no one, driving mechanics in 2077. So a lot of you guys feel like it's being on ice, a comparison there to Fast and Furious right there. Which, by the way, I actually watched Fast 9 recently. Freaking awesome movie. Man, I was laughing hysterically during most of that movie. But anyway, yeah, there's a lot of opinions about Cyberpunk right now. It's a waiting game for sure, and it looks like we really can't rely too much on the leaks, given that some of these leakers have been called out for apparently faking things. And it's interesting, I started really questioning some of these leaks because there were 2 leaks that happened simultaneously, and they weren't kind of adding up with one another. And when you see that sort of thing happen, you start questioning it for sure. Now, there have been data miners that have gone into the actual files of the game itself, the actual nitty-gritty text files, and have found stuff that I have reported on, which have been really interesting. So we'll see what pans out to be true right there. All right, so now it's time to go over your top comments from my last video. Let's check it out. What was my last video called? Let's find out right now, shall we? All right, so if we dive into it, it was called Massive Leak Reveals 3 Huge Expansions and Free DLC for Weapons Apartment and more. These were the 2 leaks that kind of contradict each other, and the one way they contradicted each other was the fact that one leaker said that there's 2 big expansions planned, and the other leaker said that there's 3. Now, that's not much of a difference. It would be preferable to have 3 big expansions with this game, but from what everything is pointing towards with this one, it's going to be 2 big expansions. So that's very noteworthy right there. Now, let's see what you guys had to say about it. Alien Parvas says the following. He says, paid DLC, I only will buy them when they get a discount. I was one of the people who pre-ordered the game without refund. This should be free for us. Laughing face. Yeah, I hear ya. You know, they're going to have to do something big with the free content, in my opinion. Sinky says, I don't think I could have clicked any faster after seeing expansion. I really do hope the expansions will be nice and long, because Cyberpunk was just too short for me. Way too short. So a lot of you guys are actually excited for what's coming up here in the future. Adam Skinner says, still waiting for the Series X upgrade. Won't touch the game until that happens. The first major expansion should also be free as a gesture of goodwill to early adopters of the game. Totally 100% agree with you on that one, Adam. Shadowblades317 says the mirror could be appearance like changing your face, nose, and your chrome on your face. Looking forward to that, and New Game Plus. Yeah, I totally agree. I think the mirror is going to be where you're going to be customizing your character instead of going to some sort of new store. So there you guys have it. Let's read this one actually. Necrotic says, it would have been nice if CD Projekt RED could have at least told us about these instead of having a leaker do it. You know, kind of engage with the community that they lost. Yeah, that's the biggest problem right now. Usually with a lot of these games that have post-launch plans, free DLC plans, that sort of thing, or they're getting updated, you have some sort of community manager, updating the community at least once a week. But we're not having that at all from CD Projekt RED. I don't know if they're scared that everything is going to be taken out of context or something like that, because anytime they try to say something, people see it differently. I remember the apology from, I think, one of the leaders from CD Projekt RED. He said, our QA team missed this or that. And a lot of QA people were completely insulted by this, saying, oh, wow, blame the QA team. That's how you're going to do it. You're going to put all the blame on the QA team. So a lot of times that they come out and say something, anything, it seems to be taken out of context. I don't know. I don't know what to say. They need to become more experts on how they communicate. They need an expert PR manager at this point. But there you guys have it. Thank you so much for watching. There's the update. I'm sure it is disappointing to hear the news about essentially no news, that this was something that went completely wrong with how, in my opinion, how this was teased was completely inappropriate. That's just my opinion, and they need to really fine-tune their communications in the future. We'll see what happens. But thank you all so much for watching. Stay tuned for more Cyberpunk and open world gaming goodness, and I will see you all next time. Take care.